What's up, everybody? Before we get into this week's podcast, I want to make a couple of little announcements. First of all, I'm in my car right now because I'm out doing some Uber and Lyft driving, just trying to make a little money because, this pandemic is still on and, you got to do what you got to do to make the money. Watching Chick-fil-A staff across the street work the drive-thru, they're freaking unbelievable, man. They should be put in charge of COVID vaccinations. Put Chick-fil-A in charge of that shit, and this pandemic would be over, and we'd all be healed up. We wouldn't have to wear these freaking dumbass things anymore. So, I got t-shirts now. I'm going to put a link to my Teespring store down below. Check it out. I got t-shirts, I got coffee mugs, I got some water bottle, things like that. I'm going to be adding stuff all the time. And, let's get into the interview with Jeff, the wheelchair drummer. I had a great time talking to him, and I think you guys should have a great time, hopefully, watching the video. Let's get into it. So my guest this week is, we know him in the the drum cover community as a wheelchair drummer. I know him as Jeff because we have the same name. I think we're about the same age, and we're from the age of Jeffs, which was what, about 1972 to 77?
I was 68, but I had five Jeffs in my home.
68. All right.
Yeah, five Jeffs in my class in elementary school.
Okay, so all right. So I was 73. I was born, and we don't spell it the weird way because there's the freak way you spell it.
No. I know one of those.
Yeah, you don't spell the name like that. So no. Jeff Ellwood, the wheelchair drummer, ladies and gentlemen, one of the funniest dudes in the frickin' drummer community. I'm excited to have him on. I'm really looking forward to this. So we were just talking about the extreme colds of me being in the upper Midwest, you being in Canada, just the extreme horrible cold that we've lived through. Did you ever snowmobile? Like before you?
Yeah, I used to snowmobile up till about maybe 5 years ago. I had too many wipeouts. I actually went through the river one time.
No shit.
Whenever I go, I got stuck in a snowstorm by myself one time.
Did you? Then, you call them snow machines up there? Or is it still legal?
Yeah.
So it's all snowmobiles here. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, what'd you ride?
My friends.
Okay.
I'm not gonna go buy one. I'd be dead.
No, fuck that.
Yeah. Because you just keep pushing it every time until something happens.
There's like,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Or what's the trail system like? I mean, like in Wisconsin or the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, like the trail systems are serious. Like they're
that's what we have too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they have a trail from Manitoba to Ontario. You can go. It just goes straight through.
Do they have speed limits on them up there? Or
yeah, about 120 miles an hour.
Miles an hour? Not kilometers.
I don't know. That's how fast everyone goes.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think the cops have fast enough machines to catch anybody.
Yeah, it's fun. I miss it. It was. I really haven't ridden in. It's probably been like 5 or 6 years. It was something I did with my family. Like we never took vacations to Florida or anything like that.
Right, yeah,
we went up to either northern Wisconsin or the UP of Michigan and snowmobiled for a week. That was our family vacation,
That's actually really cool.
I was literally 4 years old, 3-4 years old, and I would fall asleep in front of my dad, just I'd be like, my head would bob like this, and I'd hit the kill switch and shut the machine off. And, by the time I was 10, I was riding on my own illegally, I might add. I mean,
I used to ride when I was young, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. My uncle had one of those little mini ones, plus one of those John Deere.
The kitty cat?
No, it was even older than that. It was before and it was like, can't remember how many cc's, but it was like a 60s kids thing called a pony or something.
Okay.
Ride around that. It was archaic. You couldn't really steer it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Straight.
The skis would just go, yeah. It's for kids. It's a kids version. You don't need to steer it.
No. It was so the difference between the 70s and the 80s and now in the riding is, I know this is not music related at all, but it was so different then. It was safer. It was more of a family thing now. And now it's just everybody was drunk though. I mean,
That's the truth. 100%.
Everybody was drunk.
That was what made it fun. That was the danger part. Now they're just way faster.
Now they're just way faster, and most people are sober, but the machines go 170 miles, 160. You know,
and you have to do like triple flips.
Yeah, you know,
something like that. Yeah.
Well, I think it was safer when everybody was drunk and riding at 20 miles an hour, sober and going 100.
Just like when everyone was drunk and they never used seatbelts.
Right.
Same thing. Nothing ever happened to anybody then. I used to say that to people because we were all crazy when we were younger. Oh, we used to do all kinds of crazy stuff. No helmets and nothing. Nothing happened to us. Well, me, but just nobody else. Yeah. That's about it. Yeah.
You know, I'm fortunate nothing ever happened to me. I mean, I was like, I was 12 or 13 years old, and I had like a Kawasaki, like it was a 90, like it was like it was a dirt bike. I would ride it around. Yeah. I knew how to ride, but my friend had like a YZ80.
That's what I had. It was my first one when I was 11.
And I was up at his house, and this is like you kind of grew up in the country too. You know,
no, not really. I had a cabin when I was a kid. So all the kids had dirt bikes out there and stuff.
All right. Yeah. So, like you grew up in the country, and we were kind of just, well, Gen Xers too. We were just kind of left on our own.
Oh yeah, 100%. We used to go like down the road with 22s just to go shoot birds and stuff, and like passing cars. You're like 11. You got your banana seat bike and your gun.
Right.
You know what it says? And they're all waving at you.
Yeah, it was fine. He's a good boy. He's a good kid. He's a good. But like I'm over at my buddy's house, and we're riding his YZ80 around, and the throttle cable was broke.
Mm-hmm.
And so
standard,
right? The throttle cable was broke, and the clutch lever, because they had dumped it, and I don't remember if they dumped it that day. Yeah. The clutch lever had snapped off. So our solution to this was, let's take some vice grips and we'll put them on the throttle lever, and we'll just pop it in gear. Just be careful, pop it in gear, and everything will be fine, right? So I rode it around a couple. We're all taking turns right around it. Everything gets to be my turn, and I go and I pop it in gear, and I drop the vice grips. And so I dropped the vice grips, and they're still connected to the throttle cable. It's just wide open, and I'm like this, and I'm froze, and I'm going right towards a barbed wire fence.
It's always barbed wire. I think there's always barbed wire where we ride, everywhere you go. I've never heard a story that doesn't involve it.
I'm going right towards a barbed wire fence, and I don't know. I closed my eyes. The bike went through the fence, and I remember just laying there on my back, and the bike's like up like this, looking at me, and like I kind of rolled out of the way. I had one little scratch right here. That was it. So that was my bullet I dodged, I guess.
Well, I started riding when I was about 11, and I never broke a bone. And I played hockey since I was 5, and never did anything. And when I broke my back, it was from a motocross accident, just the end of the year. It's the only bone ever broken in my life.
Really?
Start with that.
Yeah, you started with the
vertebrae. Just flip that upside down. There you go. Go big.
I mean, was it like, were you racing, or were you just?
No, I was. It was actually the end of the season, and it was in Manitoba. It's all crazy, horrible winters, and it was like in late October, and it was like a beautiful day. So me and my buddies were just like, oh, we'll go one last haul, and so we just went out for fun, like just on the practice track, and then that's first lap. I guess quads were going around, and there's like a cliff part where you jump off, and some quads kicked up rocks, and there's one like maybe a football size one at the edge. So I steered out of the way, and instead of like flying 3/4 of the way down, my back wheel hit it, and I flipped and landed at the bottom. And it's like they had like an investigation on it when they said I was going 80K, and it's 3 stories, and I landed on my head. So the only reason I didn't die is because it was like super deep beach sand in a quarry.
Uh-huh.
So I guess it sort of cushioned everything or whatever.
Do you remember it?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
everything. Yeah, I wasn't
blackout or anything, huh?
No. like my throttle cable snapped and the wheel was spinning full out beside my head. So I tried to sit up to shut it off, and I couldn't do anything because I'm paralyzed from the chest down, so I can't sit up. And then it felt like my legs were floating. Then my buddy almost landed on me because he flew over the jump right after me. It was, yeah. And then when I was at the hospital, like, was this some hick hospital out in the boonies? I'm lying on the x-ray table. And all of a sudden, hear this, the noise going. The nurse is going, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "What do you mean, oh my God?" And the thing starts tipping. And I like went right off the thing onto the floor. I'm like, what is going? And I was strapped in. I couldn't hold on because I had all my gear on still.
Uh-huh.
They just picked me up and they put me in the ambulance and drove me into Winnipeg, the regular old hospital. Yeah. So.
No shit. Yeah. I mean, so were you playing? Did you play drums before your age?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you did play.
I started playing when I was 15. It was weird how I got into it. I went to an Iron Maiden concert. And I was like, wow, it was the Peace of Mind tour. And I was all blown away. I'm like, and for some reason, I just love the drum part of it. And then in my art class that year was this guy who was a drum teacher. Like he was some prodigy. He was like, I don't know, he was a year older than me and that. And he'd been teaching since he was 10 or something like that. So we kind of became best friends, and he just gave me like a real fast motion teaching sessions or whatever, so I could pretty much play right away. Like I hung out with him every day, so we learned really fast. Then I joined a band right away too.
What was the first song you were playing? You remember?
Yeah. The very first progression was the beginning of Rock of Ages. You know, when you're in school, they had those little books, little music books. I remember he scratched it out like, but of course they didn't have a cowbell, but it was just that boom, that thing. So I learned that little progression, and then the first song I learned was Mr. Crowley, because he would always go, he would make me ear train like right away immediately. So I remember learning that one.
Actually, the first song I specifically, I could play, like I would play beats, and I would play. But like the first song I can actually remember, like making a conscious effort to play along with, was actually "Run to the Hills." And I know, like, there's no way I was playing it correctly, but I think I could kind of get my hands going fast enough, and the bass drum pattern was simple enough I could do it. And I remember going da, 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 and then going around the toms, and that was kind of like the moment, I guess.
Dude, that's so funny you say that, because the Iron Maiden concert, when I seen it, it was Nico playing, not Clive at the time.
Not Clive, yeah.
But the Run to the Hills just came out like the year before, and it was the first Iron Maiden that was on the radio. We're like, what was that?
Yeah, they were playing a video on TV.
Insane.
Yeah.
That film. Yeah. I was like, that's it. I'm playing drums now. Yeah, that was so good. Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't like what got me into but that was like kind of what hooked me into, like, wait, maybe I can, like, this is something I can do.
Actually,
yeah. And it was like, it was funny because my dad worked third shift at the time, and it was like summer vacation, and I wanted to play my drums so freaking bad. And I would we lived on a farm, and I would haul my drums, like, all like walk. It was like probably like 50 yards from the house to the barn. And I would like grab the bass drum, walk it up, walk it back, grab the floor tom, like, and go in the garage and set up in the barn. And he still heard me. He's like, I still kept him up, so I did like all that work for nothing. But I remember being in the barn playing that song. Just
one summer I did that at the lake. I took all my hardware, like no drums at all, just the stands and everything. And then I just took like particle board and kind of like the E-kits now, or a practice kit, and just put them on all the stands, and then hooked my kick drum just up to a little 2x4 thing, and there was a drum kit, and I just played with the headphones. Yeah, it's almost like a practice kit. Just put it into a kitchen tent, left it there all summer.
That's like, great. I think that's a thing now. Like, I think it's gone away. And I'm not just saying I'm not trying to sound like an old dude, but I think there's like, I know this is gonna come across sounding like an old guy, but if we wanted to play so bad, and it was like the music was so
It was super exciting at the time.
Yeah, it was so exciting, and it was Iron Maiden was dangerous. Like you go like me being a good religious boy and going to and seeing like those, you know, and I'm like, oh my god,
and all the shirts,
and all the shirts and like 6 am I gonna go to hell just for like looking
it's
at
worth
this?
it. I might, but it's worth taking.
It's worth it because it was, you know, it was this element of danger, and it was scary, and we just wanted to do it so bad, and we would figure out a way to make it happen. You know, before I had a drum set, I set up catalogs, and this is what I would sit and play drums, and this is kind of like what's that?
Oh, there you go. You froze for a
second. Like this is kind of like how I learned to play, not the coordination or anything, but kind of learned like, okay, the bass drum is doing this, the snare drum's over here. And I would just play along to MTV, you know, I would play along to whatever came on, you know? And so the first time I sat down at a drum set, even though I'd never been down at one, I had an idea of what everything did. You know, I knew what the bass drum did, and I was in a school band.
Mechanics.
I knew the mechanics of it, and I knew rhythmically what everything did. I knew the snare drum was going to, you know, even though I didn't know it was 2 and 4, in my head I knew it was 2 and 4. You know, it was just, and I think a lot of that is gone because I just think kids now have too much. There's too much.
Well, and the thing is, like, even for us, like to learn a song, how easy is it? Like you just go and you go on YouTube or whatever it is, and you just put it on your headphones. It's like back and forth, back and forth. Like we used to have these either tapes, or when I first started, my drum teacher would put vinyl on with the speakers like blasting at you.
And you play what? Yeah.
Yeah. So you'd have to like do the whole and then do the whole song over, as opposed to like just backing up certain increments and sections and stuff, you know?
No, here's the thing I like to ask too is like guys now is because the younger guys have no frame of reference for this. As being a young drummer, okay, in the 80s, pre YouTube, right? We had no frame of reference. Child prodigies weren't a thing. Like we didn't see child prodigies.
There's no such thing. Yeah.
Right. Like I think every once in a while you might see one on a Carson show or something.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Or
like Stevie Wonder.
Yeah. Or like the Jerry Lewis telethon, or maybe, but they're like the prodigies weren't.
That's a good point. That's true. You never ever see
that. You never saw somebody your age that was just amazing. Yeah.
Like they do now. They're like 7.
And you're inundated with it now. And I think it's probably got to be a little discouraging, you know, like
this is it. I know what you're saying, but this is the thing. You've seen all these prodigy kids, and they have amazing skills as far as the technical ability and the acrobatic type skills. But there's a huge difference in being able to put some tasty licks down and write a proper song.
Or play with a band. Yeah.
Without overplaying and knowing where, and that that's actually the rarest of the rare thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because the thing is, people can become amazing at instruments. Like everyone can learn to practice and practice and practice and do that and be able to do all the mechanical or acrobatical type of things. But that real tasty stuff that goes together, that's the juice, and that's rare.
No, 100%. I agree 100%. But getting back to my original question, like, okay, say put yourself in your frame of mind when you first started playing at 15, 16 years old, okay?
Oh, I understand what you're saying. All right. You're saying if you were starting and you saw a kid, I'm looking up to Neil Peart because he's Neil Peart.
He's Neil Peart.
But he's not like my buddy down the street.
Right.
He's like,
exactly. Would that discourage, or I think it would probably ultimately discourage me, because when I was that age, I look at it like this way. Okay. I wanted to play baseball. Like I really wanted to play baseball. I wanted to be a good baseball player. I was just terrible at baseball. I was like the kid we were talking about earlier before I started recording, like couldn't find the one. That was me trying to hit a freaking curveball. It was like, you know, I was bad at it. And I would see these kids who just obviously had all this natural ability and all the, you know, and I was kind of like, well, I guess it's
intimidating.
Yeah. And
it depends how you look at it, I think, because you can take all these things negatively or positively, because like in my own circumstance, my drum teacher, what happened to my headphones? Sorry. My drum teacher that I was telling you about, he was only a year older than me. And like, dude, he could play all Rush, like note for note, he played the band. And like, I mean, their band would sit there and play the Rover and like 5 Rush songs and like, and the Who and all. And we're like, I was 15. Like that was, nowadays 15-year-olds see this kind of thing all the time. But back then, this was like, what is going on? Like, and he would have like all the kids from school come over to his house, and he had all the lights set up, and he had like a 12-piece Pearl in like '83. That was pretty crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like nobody had that. Yeah. And he had like hair like Eric Carr and like just total rock star. It was hilarious. He used to smoke like 2 packs a day. He'd go to school and he'd be like, this guy's like the coolest.
Yeah. I remember those guys. I remember that guy.
Yeah. He used to beat me up and stuff like that.
I remember that guy.
Yeah. But anyways,
he always had like a 6-pack of like red, white, and blue.
Well, he would keep all his liquor bottles. He would never, ever throw them away.
Right. And his boxes of like, he would do crafts with all of his empty packs of Marlboro box, right?
Well, us in Canada, it was export green. That's like the strongest smoke. It was like 32 milligrams of nicotine or something. Just to prove a point or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually looked at it as like, he's a good mentor. He was kind of like a bully. So he would like intimidate you into sort of doing things like, but you would like, for me, that worked because I'd be like, well, I'm going to prove him.
Yeah.
And he was cool. Like he introduced me to like, that's how I knew about Rush. I didn't like Rush before that because I didn't like Geddy's voice.
I was the same way, man. Like when I was young, I'm like, they would call like video of Tom. So I'm like, what? Yeah. First, what's this guy's nose? What's with his nose? His nose.
I didn't get it.
And I didn't like his voice.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a similar thing with me. I had an older guy like, no. It was the typical Rush fan. Like, no, you're not really listening. You're just hearing it.
Do you remember Bob and Doug Mckenzie? Do you know what that is?
The Takeoff.
They had right. So when we were in grade 7, they had like an album that came out, and it was called Take Off to the Great White North. It was Geddy Lee and Max Webster playing. So they played it like in our school, like in gym class and all this stuff. It was like a huge thing. And I was like, that is like the craziest voice. Like,
yeah.
You know? But then when I started getting into drums, I was like, oh my God, I didn't know anything.
Yeah. And that's kind of like what did it for me too. It was like, I remember my older sister, like I got in like, got in her car with her and her boyfriend at the time, and he had like a Rush tape, and I'm like, I don't like Rush. And I remember my sister saying, like, you don't like Rush?
All you hear is you hear a big screeching of the tires and him rolling out of the car.
She's like, you don't like Rush? You play drums. You want to be a drummer. How can you not like Rush? I'm like, I don't know. I don't like Rush, you know? And it wasn't until I was like 15 years old that I started, or like 14 or 15, where I started to get into Rush. And I think it's like an age thing too. It's like you have to mentally be, you know,
That's like hardcore jazz. Like I'm too dumb. I don't get that. It's like, you know, that real crazy stuff. Some of that stuff gives me a headache because it's like I'm trying to follow it, and I'm like, no. It's like, it's just, you know, everyone has their levels of.
Yeah, it's so far. Some of his shit is just so far. Like, I'll listen to Zappa. I've kind of releasing like the quarantine has got me into Zappa a little bit, and I'll listen to it, and some of it is just incredible. You know,
like you'd have to practice like nonstop all the time just to like memorize it.
Yeah,
or something. I don't know.
I'll listen to it, and some of it's incredible, and some of it, I'm like, I just don't get this, man.
Yeah.
You know,
it's annoying. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. And Rush, I think was like
they combine both things.
But they always had
good music with entertaining.
There was always an accessibility to it, though.
That's sort of what I mean. Like that's the genius of them.
Yeah,
they're not the most technically hardest band. There's other drummers that are far more hard to play. Like when I look at it, I go, there's no way I'm doing that.
No,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely, for sure. And
but I can't listen to it.
I can't either, you know. And I have a hard time listening to another prog rock god band, which would be
Dream Theater, same thing. Two songs, I'm good to go.
Yeah, me too. I like the first album, that was actually their second album with Images and Words. I'm like, this is cool. And then it was cool. And then the second album came out. I'm like, this isn't as cool, but it's still cool. And then the third album came out. And I'm like, I'm done with these guys.
It's the same thing to me. It's going to sound terrible, but it's amazing to play. I look at it kind of like watching gymnastics. It's like, that's crazy and amazing, but I just don't really enjoy it, so I don't watch it all the time. But every time I see it, I'm totally blown away. I can't believe people could do that.
Right.
But I couldn't judge like what is better. They all looks like 10 out of 10 to me. You know what I mean? It's
I kind of like look at it too, like a lot of like the excuse me. A lot of like the gospel chops drummers are like these guys that just have crazy, crazy, crazy chops. Mm-hmm. I look at them like kind of the same way I look at Usain Bolt. Like I'll never be able to do any of this.
No,
but it's
too much time to worry about.
But it's amazing to watch. But I'm done with it after 10 seconds. And luckily, Usain Bolt's don't even go that long.
You're right. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and
it's good for two songs.
It's athletics to me.
It's athletics. That's exactly right. What I call it. It's an athletic, not an artistic performance.
Yeah, and I think getting back into like younger drummers. I think there's a lot of that going on right now, and
like focus on speed
and playing as many notes as possible and
different weird time signatures for the sake of a time signature.
Right. Or like you ever see that video of like where they'll do like the metric modulation. It was like a hashtag trending for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where they'll take I can't remember what the hashtag was, but Tears for Fears, everybody wants to rule the world. Great drum groove, right?
Yeah, it is.
Right. So then like all these chops drummers will go over the top of it and they'll start doing like this metric modulation where they're moving the downbeat like one beat over, like a quarter of a beat over every other beat or something like that and all this shit. And none of it was any good. It was I'm watching it and going.
It's just to do something.
Yeah. I'm like, I can't do any of it, but this is all ruining the groove to me. There was one dude who did it. He was like a gospel chops dude, and he actually did it with some flair and made it sound good. But I'll have to see if I can find these videos, and I'll kind of play some clips while we're talking about it or whatever. But there was just this one guy. Everybody else, it was just drummers just doing this, dude.
Yeah. What I think of it sounds like drum practice to me.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're practicing chops. It's just. It's like there's a reason that they say John Bottom's the best rock drummer. It's not because it's hard. None of it's hard.
No,
it's medium at best. It's the perfect group to play as good as him. That's the deal. And that the groove, like we were talking about the grid. I watch on Rick Beato, and they put Zeppelin tunes onto that grid and off the grid and compare it. It's like. It's unlistenable on the grid. It's like
it is. It's totally
that's why stuff like modern music. I don't know why they do it. They're robbing people of the soul of a song because as soon as you put it on a grid, it literally robs the person's performance. Like even if they've selected and played the notes, once it's gridded, the flow between the meter back and forth is missing. So that the human thing they're trying to transmit is now gone completely. It's 100% gone, and that's the only thing that you can really do nowadays because you can't just put anything in there. There's limitless possibilities, right?
Right.
As far as like the construction part.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So if you're not doing a groove, then you're robbing the song.
And another thing too is I talked about this last week or the week before with Trey is what makes me, what makes you, what makes Steve Gadd, what made Jeff Porcaro was how they placed the subdivisions within the notes, right?
So the groove, the feel.
Yeah, and that's when you take and everybody's different. Everybody's different. Bernard Purdy was different than Jeff Porcaro. When Jeff Porcaro and John Bonham played the Fool in the Rain groove, they each sounded different doing it, right?
Yeah, of course.
But how they did it was them.
That's what that's all about. That's why it's them.
And when you when you grid this up, and this
you might as well have nobody.
At this point, you might as well just be using a drum machine.
Yeah,
and kind of thing I did on that Wolfgang Van Halen video.
I know.
And I don't have a problem. I think he's an incredibly talented musician.
Yeah, it's a good tune too. He can sing well.
He sings like a motherfucker. He plays guitar. He plays bass. He plays drums really well.
Question.
He has got more talent in his little finger than most people. But that's not my point. I'm not making an indictment on his musicality.
It's not him. It's why did they do that?
Why did they do that? Why is that necessary to do?
Whoever's playing those drums could probably make it sound better just on their own, just like that.
It was him. That's the thing.
Oh, that's it. Well, then there you go.
He did everything, and obviously he's a talented enough musician where
they should just let him go.
There becomes a point where, all right, there are certain drummers with certain bands who are
have that.
Right. Which it's going to help. It's going to help.
But then there's ones that's robbing them. Yeah.
And I would say when you get to that level of a player, or they're in that, I'm not even that level of a player, but that level of a band, or they've gotten that far, they already got a guy that can do the job. All right.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If they're there, they got a dude that can do the job, and there's no need, just make them
like Dave Grohl. You don't want to do, like, what are you going to do that for?
Right.
That's why it sounds all awesome. And you can totally tell. It's immediate.
I never thought, like, I'll never listen to a Foo Fighters album and go,
that's not tight enough.
Yeah, no, but they're not doing that. They're not throwing everything on the grid. But you take a band like Shinedown, perfect example.
Like everything right now.
Yeah, Shinedown is a really good band with a good drummer, and I can't say for positive, and if I'm wrong, and if somebody watches this, they're going to crucify me, but I'm pretty sure that they line that shit up.
I think they do it with everything, because I think they're even the thing about it now. It's not just the grid. That's just only one aspect. But what they're doing now with the cut and paste is there's no improvisational inspiration.
There's no continuity.
Like you're not just, that came through, and then like you listen to a Pink Floyd album. That's far from perfect when you listen to it. Because I played a Pink Floyd tribute, so I've actually spent time breaking down like echoes and these super long songs and seeing what he's doing. And there's all kinds of repetitive stuff, but it doesn't sound repetitive because he uses it in different places, and like he has a definite style from song to song. He does like signature things, but you don't notice it because of how he's placing it. It's really genius when you start to. There's a reason Pink Floyd is Pink Floyd.
And also there's probably actually differences in the tempo too as well.
Oh, there definitely is.
So like the first time is a little slower through the first, and the second time.
Or parts of the song, because it'll go a different tempo and a different feel.
Right.
That stuff,
and it's a natural. It's a natural organic thing. When we get to a bigger part of the song, we just speed up a little bit.
Here's the thing. I think with modern music, because it's always just this digital, almost like this thing with trap music where it sounds like the sprinklers on. It's like every single beat sounds like the sprinkler. and then snaps. Okay, you gotta have those no matter what. And then they say, "Oh, I made a beat." It's like, no, you didn't. You selected them off a thing. Like you pressed a couple things, and like I don't know. I guess that's in a way whatever. But the thing about it is, once your brain gets used to that thing, that's what you come to expect. So it's like as exciting as listening to your washing machine go. You know what I mean? Because it's just. But the thing is, there's some type of a requirement of perfection. I don't know. I'm just speculating because I don't get it. But for me, music is not made by a robot. Music is a human thing. That's why only humans love music. You know what I mean? Not robots don't really care about music. And if you're making it like, I get that you're assembling it using the mind, but the I don't know, the execution of it is a machine. So it sounds like a machine.
Sounds like a machine.
Yeah.
And no matter what they do to make it sound not like a machine, it still sounds like.
Why don't you just do it?
Yeah. And
it might go back to that because I think people have a hunger for actual music. I think that's why young people are listening to old music.
There is a definite, and this has been going on for a few years now.
It has.
Look
at the young kids. What do they play? What do young, like 7-8-year-old kids playing when they're doing covers? What do they play?
I don't know.
So like I've seen a whole bunch like the Judas Priest there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like this. This is how I look at it. It's like think back in '83. We were just talking about Iron Maiden being all badass and scary and all this kind of stuff. think of it when you're that age. Oh, hey, let's go listen to the Glenn Miller Orchestra. Well,
It's the exact same thing, yeah, dude.
It's the same thing. But now they're like it's probably even older than that.
It is.
You know what I mean?
That was 40 years. That was 40 years.
This is more. This is 50 years.
Priest, yeah, you're looking at Priest.
Oh, did you see that Lawrence Welk video?
I know.
That was crazy.
But there's kids that are into this.
That's what I mean. It's really bizarre.
There were kids when we were in high school that would walk around with the
a Lawrence Welk on their back.
Or Betty Goodman t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
There was, that didn't
exactly the same thing though.
But that music was, that was jazz, but that was considered the same.
It's amazing. It's amazing music, but it would be just ridiculous to think of people our age coming to school and like thinking this is great, and like you picked up the drums to go and play like old Big Betty stuff from the 40s. You know what I mean? That's what that's equivalent to. Like if you take 83, 40 years back is 1943. There's kids playing Led Zeppelin and The Who and all this kind of stuff that came out in 68. Like that's 52 years ago. That'd be like us playing stuff in 1933. Ragtime.
Right.
You know what I mean? I joined a ragtime band.
But when I was teaching at the school, I was teaching kids that were, like I was telling you earlier, that were 12, 13 years old, and they legitimately loved Led Zeppelin.
That's what I'm saying.
It's crazy. And it's and that's what's this whole mind-boggling thing. Like I was saying before, is like you can't see of when we were in high school, like wearing a Benny Goodman shirt. But that's what it's like, Yeah.
Well, my nephews have been to more concerts, and they're 15 and 12, and they've seen more concerts than I have. They think like new music's ridiculous. They play drums too, and they nothing but like what we listen to.
Okay, so
and modern cool rock too. There's
Here's the one thing that really, where I look at the future of rock, especially rock, because I think rock is the last vestige of pure organic. Well, jazz too, but jazz has gotten so.
It's a niche thing.
Yeah,
it'll never be like a mainstream pop.
It doesn't have mass appeal. It's too smart.
It's exactly right.
It's too smart.
It's too heady. Yeah, it's not that it's bad. It's too much.
It's too much for a lot of people. Most people can't. Your average Joe can't.
Including me. I can't.
Yeah, I can't either. Can't grasp his head around it, okay? But your average Joe can grasp his head around AC/DC's Back in Black or something like that. But my point is rock is the last pure organic music.
Form, yeah.
It's 4 or 5 guys in a room jamming together, writing a song, and getting back to the grid. It takes that away.
Yeah. They need to go back off that. If they did, it would be more successful. Like guaranteed, it would.
Kids aren't stupid, dude.
No, and it's
kids are not stupid.
Do you know what else do you find with modern music? And I hate just lumping everyone into that thing, because there's I know Greta Van Fleet sounds like Zeppelin, but they're good players. They can improvise well live. I listen to a bit of it. You can hear all their instruments. The stuff's catchy and very musical, which is.
The songs aren't there. The songs aren't there.
Yeah.
The song. They got like 2 or 3 good songs. The songs aren't there.
But as far as sound, it's like they got kind of the sound right. Maybe like not like the so similar to Zeppelin, but the idea where I notice a lot of the guitars and bass nowadays sound like one instrument. It's like really heavy and like just meshed together as one. They can't hear the dynamics.
A lot of that's the recording process of the sonic spectrum, is where everything is
one frequency.
Right. And everything is, if you got the dynamic spectrum from here to here, everything now is sitting in this top like 5%. And it has a lot of effect.
It's homogenized the sound. Like it sounds clean. It sounds amazingly clean.
Right.
It sounds like someone's pressing a key as opposed to a band's playing 2 notes together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I find that, like, whereas you listen to the old stuff, you can hear all the different parts of it. that are blending together. And then as you're listening to it more times, you're picking more stuff out each time.
Right.
Your brain can't pick up on just one run through or something. Whereas a lot of the stuff now is like one run through and you've heard everything because it's kind of, I don't know. I could be,
No, you're not wrong. And it's so as far as like everybody was saying like 2 years ago, Greta Van Fleet is like, they're the saviors and they're the ones that are going to save rock music and all this jazz. Right. And I'm not a hater of that band at all.
No, me neither. No.
I think they're, like you said, they're an amazingly talented band.
Yeah, they can play that kind of tasty kind of stuff.
But I think I think what happened with them is they're too young. Okay. And they never got their chance to kind of find
their own thing.
their own sound
before they got picked up and thrown into the
got picked up and they got thrown into the meat grinder. Right. And
do this. Maybe that was, I don't know, maybe that wasn't what happened. I don't know, but they are very young.
Yeah, they're young and they're in the meat grinder, and I already think they're on their way out. I've been thinking they're on their way out for about a year because the young girls that like them, you know how finicky young girls are, right?
No. That would be like the worst. Yes, I do. That'd be the worst thing you could say. Yeah. No idea.
No, it'd be worse if you said, "No, I'm not. I don't want to get canceled." Just trust me, I got inappropriate things on my. But if young girls aren't going to stick around for 3 years waiting for them to come out with their new album, right? They're going to be on to the next cute boy.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah. So in that aspect, I think people have already moved on. The audience that was going to bring them, which is the young people that would keep them going, I think is probably all moved on. And if you look at your average comment of like the comment section of a Greta Van Fleet video, it's like, I'm 55 years old and this is my favorite, but that's not who we need to keep this music alive.
100%.
Young people to keep this music alive,
Yeah, they can play the heavy metal wing of the old folks home.
Right. The guys like me and you aren't going to go out and buy new albums. When I go to a record store, I'm looking for
Benny Goodman.
Yeah, that's not like this is a good copy of Hellbent for Leather. I'm going to pick this up.
Yeah.
So, but and getting like another band too that's kind of in that same vein as has some success is Rival Sons. I know I
was going to mention them.
Yeah.
After that.
So Rival Sons is the exact opposite. They're all older dudes. They're all in their 40s. They're all about our age, or right around our age, a little younger, maybe a little older. But they know how to. There's no like, what's the word I'm looking for? They know what they're doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. They know how to.
It's their thing.
They know their sound is honed, and it is what it is. And they've put out 10 albums, like 9 or 10 plus EPs, maybe 8, I think, something like that. 8 albums plus an EP or something like that. And their sound is their sound, and they have their sound. But they're another one that's just they're totally organic. Like you can hear them, and I can listen to Miley and. Dude, I can 100% tell that there is no trickery going on with his playing. Like that dude is a fucking monster drummer. I've seen them live, and it's if you ever have you ever seen them?
No.
Dude, incredible band. Just incredible band. They're so good. They're the best, and but once again, I think they're too old. I think they're them as the hope to save rock and roll is not.
No, they're just part of it.
Yeah, they're part of, and they're kind of
a part of it. They're not going to be the next generation,
right? And they're real, and they're getting some success and some claim like that. But they're not the ones that are going to bring the next group. Like, who do you think was the last true rock? The last true era of rock.
90s.
Was it the 90s or would it be the 2000s? Like the really early 2000s?
Nickelback.
I'm not talking about Nickelback, but I'm talking like that whole kind of like.
Well, they had that Nickelback all and sounded the same in like 2003.
Yeah, but there was like a little bit of a punk explosion in
that punk.
Like that pop punk with
like some 41.
Yeah, and there's a lot of kids in that era that they brought up a lot of kids, but
it was like a pop punk type of thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't really like hard rock. Like it wasn't like a Pearl Jam sort of.
No, it was very
pop.
It was very pop, very polished, with Blink and Sum 41 and All American Rejects and those bands. But kids got them. Kids liked them, and high school kids. And
right.
I don't think there's.
You know what it is? It's funny. I could be wrong too, but all my friends' kids who are like 12, 13, that kind of stuff, they're all into classic rock. The ones that don't like, say, pop.
Yeah.
That's what they like. They like my friend's kids' band just played the talent show, and they're 10, and they played Living After Midnight. I just started laughing, but that's hilarious. It's like, you know what I mean? Like old man music.
That's funny. But like
my friend's kid just turned 12 or whatever. He puts his picture on Facebook and he's got a Screaming for Vengeance shirt on. It's like, he's all happy.
I played a Judas Priest tribute, actually. I played.
Did you? Oh, that'd be fun.
I played a Priest. I still play with them. Like, we don't play that.
Oh, that's all. I love Priest.
Yeah, but I played a Priest tribute, and we're pretty good, dude. Like
awesome.
We're pretty good. Like the singer, is the spitting image of Halford.
No kidding.
I think he shaves his head just so he can look like. But he'll do like 4 costume changes like during the show. Oh yeah.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
It's good, man. It's good. It's fun. And I was never like a huge Priest fan until I got asked to join this band. I'm like, wow, man, these dudes are some motherfuckers, man. They're, you start getting into that older shit with Les Banks, and
I'm learning the Sinner right now. The East Unleashed in the East.
On the East, yeah.
Because like my band that I play in now, it's all originals, but we play 2 or 3 covers as well, and so we like to switch them up. And we're gonna do the Les Banks version. It's my favorite one. That's just an epic tune, man. That's my first Judas Priest album I owned.
What's Unleashed in the East?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
like, what is that?
Actually, I just picked the vinyl of that up about a year ago, and I'd heard a lot of this stuff off Unleashed in the East, but this is after I started playing in the Priest tribute, and we do. My gosh! Every time I can't think of this song. Every time I draw a blank on it. Whiskey woman, don't you know that you are me? It's
that's a Victim of Changes.
Victim of Changes. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so, I really learned Victim of Changes to do this Priest thing, and so I went back, and after I learned it, was playing with the Priest tribute a couple of years. I was in a record store about a year ago, and I picked up Unleashed in the East, and I dropped the needle on Victim of Changes. And if you listen to that, really listen to what he does on that.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
He's like a jazz. You go back the jazz drummer.
He's their best drummer they've had.
Yeah, he's for sure. He's their best drummer. Everybody talks about Travis.
No, his timing's weird.
Incredible drummer.
Scott Travis, his technical abilities are amazing, and he can throw a stick 30 feet in the air and catch it. But his meters kind of like Nico McBrain kind of not super solid, you know what I mean? It kind of bugs me a little bit, but
Les Banks was their best.
Les Banks was so fluid.
Yeah, he was so
spot on.
And obviously they had the biggest success with Dave Howland, and Dave Howland was probably the worst drummer they had. Yeah, and he's sneaky hard too. Some of his stuff though.
So, if you listen to the studio stuff.
Yeah,
if you listen to him playing it live, it's simplified.
Some of the stuff like the end of Heading Out of the Highway, the timing was always kind of weird on that. And
we used to play that. My band, we used to play that because we played that one, and also Grinder.
We do Grinder. Is there a gayer song than Grinder? Has there ever been gayer lyrics than Grinder?
Oh yeah, we used to play
didn't know Halford was gay when we were listening to lyrics to Grinder. Grinder looking for me.
It's such a great song. I don't care. Great song. Yeah.
Halford's gay? No, he's not gay. He whips chains.
He's just super badass.
He's just a badass dude. He's not gay. Like Mr. What was Mr. Do you watch South Park?
Oh yeah.
Mr. Garrison's his little gay buddy they would dress up. It was obviously he was just a direct, like they looked at Rob Halford. Like, yeah, this is our inspiration for Mr. Was it Gimp or what? I can't remember his name.
Yeah, Rob, he's great. He's funny too. Like, have you ever listened to his interviews and stuff?
Halford?
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, man.
And like honestly, like his vocals especially on the recordings, like there's just nothing better than that in metal.
Yeah,
you know, if that was just, it's super metal. It's
him and Dio and Ryan and James Dio. Like what happened to my
especially in Black Sabbath. I love those ones. That's Heaven and Hell album.
Hell, yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I think you know, if you ever like looked at like you could see like Ronnie James like with his like first band The Prophets. There's like stuff on YouTube of like,
oh really? I haven't.
Yeah, there's stuff on YouTube, but like they're kind of like almost a doo-wop thing, you know, and like you hear it and you're like, you could hear his voice in there, you know, but he's another dude. He like slummed it for years. I mean, he recorded his first single in 1958 or something like that.
What?
In the 50s. I'm not joking. Yeah, he was a baby. He was really young, like 16 or 17. Wow. But yeah, he recorded his first single like in the like Ronnie James or Ronnie Dio and the Prophets, and they're like doo-wop. And then like he had the Prophets for like 10 years until the late 60s till he formed Elf. And then
he sold his soul to the devil.
He sold his soul to the devil. He went to the crossroads. Yeah. It's too nice of a guy to sell his. He never got bitter. He was you know, like you hear stories like about people that met Ronnie James Dio. He was just the nicest guy.
Super cool guy.
Yeah. I like some friends that went and saw Sabbath with Dio, and like they were talking to them before the show at the hotel, and then like after the show he came back to the hotel and Ronnie James Dio remembered my buddy's name, like remembered his name. He's like, hey man, wait, Danny, what you think of the show? And it was just like the kind.
I can't even do that with some of my good friends.
I can't even remember my birthday. I don't even know how old I am.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, you don't want to know. Yeah,
it's old. It's older.
It's not good.
Not good.
Yeah.
It's going downhill.
That's like me, man. Oh, I just found out because I've been having like shoulder problems for like I can barely lift up my arm. Like I don't know if you noticed when I'm playing on my covers, my arm's in a really weird position because like I can't back up a bit. I can only put my arm like I can't raise it up. There's a bunch of things I can't do with it because I wiped out in my wheelchair. I wiped out of my wheelchair like 1,000 times over 30 years. And this one time I was on ice. It was in a church parking lot and I didn't want to wipe out. So normally you just let it go and then you land on your shoulders and it doesn't hurt, nothing happens. But I didn't want to wipe out, so I put my arm back and I hear it. And it's like, oh my God. So then like I can't rest it. Like I still have to transfer out of the car, push my do all the stuff that I have to do, which is really extreme upper body things.
You're putting twice
all day long
on their upper body. Basically.
Well, and then if you have an injured shoulder, how does it heal, right?
Yeah.
So I just kept doing stuff. I could only maybe drum half a song for about 2 months and just kept going and trying to build it back. And then I got to a point where I could play again, but it's really difficult. Like especially playing on the right side, like the ride cymbal, or like when you're riding up on the crash, that kind of stuff. But anyways, I seen about 3 doctors about it and that, and there's like arthritis in the subacromium and then in the glenohumeral joint. They're going, well, that's what your problem is. But then I go and see this other guy. He gets ultrasounds, and I got like complete tears of the supraspinatus and infraspinatus, like gone, ripped right off. They can't repair it or anything. I'm like, are you kidding me? And they're like, yeah. So that's why so it feels like I'm lifting a 25-pound weight like all the time. If I put my arm up, because those muscles that lift it, they're just off the bone. So that's fun. And then, and then on this hand, I have tennis elbow, so I just wanted to make sure there's no arthritis there. And I go to get an X-ray, and I go, I might as well do my hand because it's been bugging me. And I just think, because you know how I play, I use it's a kind of a weird motion going back and forth as opposed to down, up and down. It's more like back and forth. And my hand is constantly moving and to like like to do the kick and the snare that way. And so turns out now it's called subchondral sclerosis, which is basically your bones expanding, trying to preserve your joint, and stage 3 arthritis in the CMC joint and MCP1 joint. And I just went to see a hand specialist on Friday. He's like, it's like put foam on your stick and don't be a pussy.
Just deal with it.
Yeah.
It's gonna hurt. Just deal with it.
That's it. That's all you can do. So do what you've been doing all along, basically. Yeah.
That kind of leads me like with when you're playing now. I watch your videos and I'm mesmerized. It is actually mesmerizing watching you work your left hand. Like,
it's not that hard. I learned it really fast. It was actually, you know what I used to try it? Well, you know the story from before.
Yeah, go to story. All right, let's talk. All right, let's go back. All right. After your accident, you decide I want to start playing drums again. So
yeah, like there's only so many things. Well, I went into like wheelchair track, like right away. I was still in the hospital. Like I was in the hospital for 3 months after my accident. Okay. And while I was in there, I wanted to see like, Rick Hansen was all big at the time. And all of a sudden, like, oh, maybe I'll do wheelchair track or something. So I went in there and then I actually started doing it, went on a few trips and stuff. And those are the guys who kind of tell you how to do stuff, like how to get in and out of off the ground into your chair, just all the different things, right? Because they basically don't teach you that in the hospital.
I mean, there's a point where it's like, okay, I can just sit around and feel like,
I was 21, so you're not going to do that.
What's that? You're 21.
I was 21, yeah. So,
but yeah, I mean, still, you're like, dude, I'm 21. There's no sitting around feeling sorry for yourself.
No, you got your whole life to live. It's like
you got your whole life to live, yeah. And so you got to have like some sort of. I mean, even me.
It's no picnic, but you got to do something about it.
You got to do something. Yeah. You got to have something.
Or else it'll be way worse.
You got to. You can't just sit in a fucking chair and play video games the rest of your life.
No, no.
You have to have some sort of outlet to look forward to,
Yeah.
And so, all right. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
So what I did is like my friends. So a little bit of backstory, like that. My guitar player and singer in my band Life right now. He was in actually my first band back in 6 months after I started playing drums, I got into a band. He was in my first band, and we had been playing for years together and that. And then him and my other best friend helped me build a drum pedal. We took a solenoid, just an electric solenoid. We mounted it to my Tama belt drive kick pedal. We made like a little platform and then hooked the belt up to the solenoid. And then we took like I'm not an electrician, but I can't remember it's kind of like a little transformer that steps down the voltage so you don't kill yourself kind of thing. Because we're plugging it into the wall, right? And then we made a mouse switch. We took a hockey mouth guard and some copper, and we made little leads. And then I stuck it in my mouth. And we turned it on. It's like, so how dumb is that?
This is your first attempt to right, use a kick drum. So
yeah. I was just gonna have the kick drum operate it with my teeth, like bite down on it, and then so. We kind of rewired it. Like we thought maybe the contacts were sticking out too far. There's just a little adjustment. And it's like, it did the exact same thing when I tried it again. I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. So then, every time I did it, it was like,
purposely
it was so crazy.
You didn't even get to playing a song. It was like,
no, not one.
Oh, you were like, yeah.
Well, we actually made sure the pedal would work. Like we hooked that to a doorbell. And then you could go clink, clink, it would go fa-dunk, fa-dunk, and it was like so sloppy and you'd be playing like it would just be like brutal. Like
there's no way you were gonna make
no way. And then the solenoid sound was almost louder than the kick pedal because it would just go slam, slam, slam like that, right?
So, but would you every time you'd hit it, you get zapped, or were you getting zapped the entire?
I wasn't even able to close it together and try it. No. But then a few years later, about maybe 10 years later, I just packed it away, sold my kit. And then when I was in Kelowna here, it would be 13 years later, actually. I had the pedal here And my wife was playing in this worship team at church and stuff, and they knew I played drums. And when I was playing congas for them.
Okay.
And they're like, oh, well, I told them about this pedal thing. And they're like, oh, well, maybe you can play the thing. We have this concert coming up in a couple of months, and we need a drummer. Maybe you can come out and try playing. So I come out to the place, and it's like this. You know how those churches are? There's those super churches with 10 band rooms and the wickedest drum kits you ever seen and all that, right? So I bring my bass pedal-y thing and hook it up, and there's a keyboard or a piano player, a couple chick singers, a guitar player, and that. And then I'm trying to do something. It's like blink, 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 like this. But at this time I had a different kind of mouse switch. I used a thing called a purple micro dot. It was really called that.
For those of you out there that don't know what a micro dot is, you're not going to explain while I'm laughing.
I used to have a friend called Purple Mike. That's what they called him. His name was Mike. Hey, it's Purple Mike. Yeah. So it would kind of make this thing work, and it wouldn't electrocute because it was like a piezo thing, like almost like a trigger. And then I had an orthodontist make a mouthpiece, like literally fit it so that it would go in there, and so I could kind of operate it. But then I'm playing it with this band, and I remember the girl. She was so nice. She's like, "Can you like play something different?" It's just horrible. Man. I'm like, oh my God.
No, I can't.
Like, I don't know. And then it started on fire.
You should be happy I'm getting this out.
It started on fire right after.
It started on fire?
It really started on fire. Yeah, it doesn't. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. It wasn't CSA approved.
It started on fire.
It really did. Yeah. I still have the thing. It's kicking around here somewhere. I think it's downstairs. So that didn't work. And then, because the kits were sitting around like just in the room, I said, well, I'll just try something. And I just went over to one and I just said, I'm just going to pound out a bit like with the floor tom. And I was just going boom, boom, doo, 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 playing to a song, no hi-hats or nothing, just sitting there. And I'm like, wait a minute, why not? And at the time I had one of my friends was storing his kit in my basement just because he had nowhere to put it. So it was sitting in my basement. So it was kind of like serendipity in a way. I just kind of did that with the floor tom. And I went, ding, maybe if I took that floor tom and I put it on the other side, put the hi-hats there, and I could just play with this hand. So I went home and I grabbed the guy's kit and set it up. And that's exactly what I did. And then I put a pillow in it. So it sounded like a kick drum. And then about half an hour later, I was playing tunes and I just started. And then they gave me a cassette, these people, like to learn like 8 or 9 songs. And then about a month later, I played in front of 200 people with my little thrown together kit. I borrowed some other cymbals and stuff like that. And then the thing is, I'm paralyzed from the chest down, so I can't hold my hands in front of me 2 at the same time. I can only do 1 at a time. So because I'll fall over. So I just took a sweatshirt, I tied it, I put a pillow behind me so I could move out onto the seat to be near the snare drum, and then just put a sweatshirt around me and tied it up. You know, like your shirt in the summer. You know when it's hot out?
Yeah, I never did that. I never like.
No, I know you didn't. Yeah, but that's what it looked like. Yeah.
I never had the form to pull that one off.
Yeah. But that's basically what it looked like. It didn't look great.
Yeah.
But,
I went.
I did a whole concert though with it, and I felt it was on film. I have it. It's pretty good. It's kind of that was in 2001. So that's how I started it.
Okay, so it was quite a while after your accident then. So
because I just said it's not possible. You know, I didn't think of doing it with my hands at all until that day when I just went, why don't I do that? And then just like a light bulb.
Okay.
It was like, oh, that's actually possible. And then when I did it, then I started just doing it, and it's really easy.
Like you never so there was like drums were the furthest thing from your mind after it's just something you never would like just play on a pad or anything like that. No. Just take drumsticks and just so it was like kind of like it was just that was it. It was gone. Drums weren't going to happen. It was just another thing. It was gone. Okay.
It just kind of came up like kind of not out of my. I didn't search it out. It just kind of fell in my lap. And then it just so happened my friend moved also from Winnipeg around the same time, and he's the guy who's still in my band. It's like my best friend. And then we just started writing tunes. And like I wrote and recorded a tune on that kit. And then we used that as scrub tracks for our first CD. And like we've been playing, like we've had lots of really, and then right after that, we had a really cool manager who, like, our first gig was opening up for Todd Kearns, which was really cool. I don't know if you know who that is. Well, he's famous in Canada. He had a band called Age of Electric that was really big in Canada. But right now, he's Slash's bass player.
Todd, how do you spell his last name? Kern? Is it Kearns?
Kerns. He plays in Slash's band, Conspirators.
Okay. Yeah, he looks familiar.
Yeah, he's really good. So we played with that band. It was like a really cool show. And then that year, he got us gigs opening up for like Cheap Trick and Leonard Skinner. Like there's like 4 or 5 of them all. Oh, Chaos, that like a hip hop show we played. I don't know if you know who Chaos is. He's like a hip hop guy.
Okay.
But pretty famous at the time. This is going back like 16 years or something. I'm trying to think who else. Doucette, the band. Remember those guys?
Yeah.
Play band or whatever.
Yeah.
Foreigner. With the Foreigner show was crazy because it was
Jason Bottom on drums at that point? Or
no.
Okay.
No. But there was a forest fire started like after we finished playing. So we take it was close to our place. So we're like, we'll take all our gear back home and then go back and watch. And then we couldn't go back in because of the forest fire. They blocked off the roads and everything. And it was close enough to my house that we could sit in the backyard listening to like, oh, bloodheads all playing. And there's a forest fire. We're like, that's the craziest scene. Like the whole side of the mountain just lit. It was bizarre. Yeah, it was bizarre. But yeah, he was really good. Like he got us a bunch of really, so those few years were really good. And then we had like problems with members. Like one guy had to, I can't remember why he had to leave.
Joey quit, Johnny got married, shouldn't we?
Yeah. And then we had another few years, up until about 2011, like really active. And then we decided to do cover band just because the thing is, not really money, it's more like I want to set my gear. If I'm setting all my gear up, I want to play for 2 nights and I want to play for 3.5 hours.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
It was different. We played like it was a really cool cover band. Like we didn't play the standard like Brown Eyed Girl stuff. It was like all really cool tunes. Everyone kind of had the same, we even played some like really like dance stuff like LMFAO and all that. And we had like keyboards, so we would do all that, like make it exactly like how it is. It was pretty fun, but now we're back doing that again.
So good, like the original show. I don't know what original shows are there in Canada, but here in the Midwest, it's usually 3 bands, and every band gets 45 minutes usually or whatever.
Or if you're the last band, an hour and a half.
Yeah. So, I mean, for you, it's got to be an issue to get because obviously you can't share a kit.
No.
So obviously that's got to be an issue to get your.
And I played a lot of festivals and stuff where you like have to be off within a certain amount of time, no matter what.
Yeah.
So I originally made my kit is 1 piece. Like once I move away, you grab my snare, and then 2 people grab it, and it's 1 piece. Boom, gone.
Right, so for those that don't know, let's explain your drum set because it's different than a normal. You know what? If you send me a picture, or I'll take a picture, screen grab on something on YouTube. Sure. But so like kind of going left to right, like how is your setup? For the most part, because you kind of got everything in a little closer, a little tighter, correct?
Well, that's because I can't lean forward. It's like being stuck in quicksand because I belted in so tight because I have a belt that's like 3 seat belts that I Velcro to hold me up. And then I got a bunch of little foam and plastic wedges. So I can kind of move this way, but I can't go like this. Like I can't lean forward with my body.
Okay.
It's wherever my arms go. So it has to be kind of like, I actually looked at it one day and it's in a line. I didn't even do it like purposely like that, but it's just kind of, so everything can be reached fairly easily. And the only difference is the kick pad on the left side, and obviously no kick drum.
Hold on, I'm going to pause the recording 1 second.
Swell up like it's.
All right, let's. Sorry, so the drum set's kind of where everything's in a line. You said, all right. So
we starting up?
Yeah, we're back up now.
Oh, okay, cool.
So,
Well, this is. I'll tell you what. It's actually really simple. It's just a regular 5-piece drum kit. Like picture just a regular 5-piece drum kit. The only difference on the right side, I have a set of hi-hats that are on a stand, and then there's no key in the clutch. It's just like loose.
okay.
So it's just so when I hit it, it's like an open hi-hats.
So you have 2 sets of hi-hats. So
3 sets.
You have 3 sets.
Yeah, I got one on this side that's closed with the clutch, sitting on a
closed
stand.
tight or just kind of like slosh?
Yeah, closed tight.
Okay.
So it's like
okay.
And then the one right above it, where it's like instead of opening your foot, it's mini hats that are just open with no clutch, like no tightener.
Okay.
Sitting there. So when you go, if you hit it twice, it's
so
your
you can kind of like go back and forth and get that.
It's identical to your foot. It's
okay.
like so if you hit it twice, it's your foot's open a little longer. If you hit it once, or you can hit it harder, just to get the feel of to make the accents. If I have to go ride on the open hi-hats, that's over here.
Okay.
On the right side. Or if I want to go ding ding on that side, like with the ride cymbal. So I do that. And then in between the hi-hats and the snare is like I made one before. It was just a drum with a trigger. But now I got a PDX8 there. It works better.
You have a what there?
Just a PDX8, like one of those Roland.
Oh, the rolling pads. Yeah.
Standard, whatever.
Yeah.
But they work really good. So, and that's it. And then my cymbals, like I have a China, a ride. I used to have like 3-4 more, but I made the kit smaller once I started hauling it around.
What are you using for your kick sound? Like, do you use like a
I got right now. I was using a DTX Stream. I bought a long time ago, and I really only like one kick drum sound. So I used to just turn it on and off. And then this year I was going to switch to because of all my shoulder issues and all that. I was thinking maybe doing a hybrid thing. So I bought a TD6 or something, just cheap, and I'm just using that right now. There's only one decent sound that's passable.
Oh,
but if I had
those low end rolling kick drums are not. Yeah, they're pretty rough, man.
No, there's one that's good.
Yeah, no, but most of the drum sounds in general
shit.
On those lower end TD, this is what is so maddening with Roland. The technology is there where they can just sample decent sounds and put them in a cheaper module, but they don't. They insist on making their own versions of drums. Just why invent the wheel, man?
The thing about them too, man, like those things, like that TD50s, it's an amazing instrument, but 90.
Like, oops, are you there? You froze up there. You froze up there a second. Go back. The TD50 is an amazing instrument.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It says your connection is unstable.
Come on.
What's his name?
Come on. There we go. There's it. Okay.
What's her name?
That's Piper.
Piper.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful dog.
Yeah.
Don't break into your house with that thing.
No. Unless they have a box fan or a vacuum cleaner, and then
right.
she went and hide. But
uh-oh.
There's a cat.
Oh yeah, that's all I got for protection.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, but the TD, going back to the TD50.
Yeah, no, I just have it. Or the TD50. Yeah, like I wish I could have that. I wouldn't. I am actually not against it. But the sounds. There's no character to it. It sounds like electronic drums.
Yeah, it does. They sound like electronic drums. And like I was saying before, it's like you take a guy like Jay, Beats by Jay, who is no longer doing drum covers. But when he was doing drum covers, he's using Slades or drum sounds like that. And the technology is there for Roland to use those sounds. It already exists. All you got to do is put a microphone on the drum and it's there, And I think for the money they get for those modules, I think the drum sounds should be better. I just do.
Well, to me, this is what it is for me. I think they sound good in a technical sense. Like they're clean.
They're clean. Yeah.
They cut through the cymbals they don't have for sure.
No,
the cymbals are like there's something about it. It just sounds like a pop recording that's done with a drum machine. Like it's just got that sound. Is there something about the attack or I don't know, it's something about it, but they sound like when you hear Alex Van Halen, That's Alex Van Halen's snare drum.
Snare drum, yeah.
You know, when you're listening to Bonham, like, that sounds like Bonham. It might not be him, but it sounds like him. You know, or just name a drummer, the way, and there's something about the character of the way they play them, plus the sound of the actual drums themselves. The rooms, there's so many different small dynamics and nuances that just isn't possible to do when something is so consistent all the time.
Yeah.
Like it's a consistent sound.
It's like going back to the grid thing, man.
Same exact idea.
Yeah, it's that's
all the character is gone.
Yeah.
And I thought, is it a bad thing? I don't know. It's like we're old.
It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's the grid isn't a bad thing either.
Yeah.
In a sense that, okay, yeah, it's very perfect.
It can be bad.
It can be
It's
bad.
a tool that should be used sometimes and not all the time, depending on who's playing.
All right. Let's go back to Def Leppard, okay?
Right. Yeah.
Let's go back to Def Leppard. Those first with the album, the Mutt Lange albums, Hysteria and Pyromania, those are perfect drums. Perfect. I didn't know when I was 13 years old, I didn't know that was Drum Machine. Did you?
No, I didn't know there was a drum machine.
On Pyromania? I had no idea until, I think I didn't know that until I was probably in my late 20s. I'm like, really? That's Drum Machine? Or until, you know.
But the thing about this, how about this? At least back then, it sounded like Def Leppard because they were the only ones doing it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like there was a standard. You could actually say with electric, those drums sound like Def Leppard. You could say with electric.
But the same, like the same thing. Like if you listen to the intro, we were talking earlier about Rock of Ages. Yeah. All right. It sounds perfect. Okay. Like obviously the timing is perfect on it and everything like that. But, and I think this is going back to like with the grid. Is I think a lot of it too is how they process these drum sounds now, where everything is just so and so
massive,
and so punchy,
so powerful, and just,
right.
It doesn't sound like a drum can't sound like that if the person's playing it.
And before those transients explodes, they're so sonically tight. You know what I mean? And when they did Pyromania, they were probably doing them on a Lynn drum machine, I would assume. I don't know. You know,
I kind of used to know more about that. I can't really remember now.
I mean,
you know, I'll tell you something. Sorry, go on.
Like the Roland, like I don't even think the drum machine's like the 808 or anything.
Well, he was using Simmons, right? He was like,
yeah, but this I'm talking before, like when they did Hysteria, before the accident. It was all electronic drums and because
I think it was I can't 100% remember. I don't really remember 100%, but I know that he was definitely an innovator. Like with electronic drums themselves. He actually, Rick was like their last tour, they were.
You know what? All right, let's go back and I don't know if you don't want to name drop or anything, but you know,
I don't care. Yeah,
you know Rick.
You told me I could.
You know Rick Allen. And did you ever ask him if he got my letter when I was 10? Did you ask him about that?
But I'm just joking. I asked him. Yeah, he said yes. His favorite letter. Of course, he has it in a frame.
Is that framed up? That's good.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that band. When I was a kid, I'm not like the seminal moment, like you said, Iron Maiden concert. The seminal moment for me was Pyromania was already out. You know, I had Rock of Ages and Photographer all over MTV and everything like that. But for me, it's like everybody has like a cooler older person, like you were talking, you know.
Yeah.
And for me, there was a girl that lived next door. She was like 2 or 3 years older than me, and she brought over a copy of High and Dry.
Oh yeah.
And when I heard Let It Go, I was like, oh my God. And like the sound of his Black Beauty snare drum, I was like, that was it for me. I mean, it was like, that's what I wanted to do right there, you know? So like that band was huge for me in my like early years. That's the reason I play drums to this day is because of that album, you know? And that's like I did write him a letter when I was like 10 years old. Nobody ever got back to me.
That's funny. Terrible. Yeah. Yeah, I know he's really cool guy. Like he's super ultra down to earth, like just like regular dude when
Yeah.
you're talking to him. But like the funny part is like it's kind of like in the background he's had this like for one thing, me and my buddy were talking to him one time. We're like in Vancouver one time. We went after the concert. We stayed over at his hotel room the next day because we couldn't get a hotel room that night. So we'll stay there, and then they were going to Victoria the next day. So we're like just yakking and stuff like that. And my buddy's like, or we're talking about jobs we used to have, like crappy jobs. He's like, I've never had a job, man. We're like, what do you mean? He's like, I was in Def Leppard when I was 15. And I'm like, oh. And he quit school like right there. And so this story, I'm sure you've heard this story. He spent his 16th birthday, like turning 16, opening up for AC/DC Highway to Hell tour at the Hammersmith Odeon.
No, I didn't know that.
That's real. Yeah, that's so this is where he comes from. Like, think of that. Like, that's not normal. No way.
Early years box set. I mean, this is a band right here. And nobody talks about these guys when they talk about like the early days of like the new wave of British heavy metal. Man, they were like hungry freaking rock and roll band, man.
Oh, no, they were. And the thing people don't understand too is like they never stop touring. They're always on the go.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like it's not as like I've seen them maybe 8 or so times, but it's always, and I'm always get back. He just gives me his all access pass. So you just go in and then, so you go wherever you want. You can go in front or whatever. So I've never like been like that, the not that you see everything. It's like, it's a grind. Like even at that level, you know what I mean? It's not like it's not like the 80s, like how it must have been just mental. Like imagine.
No, now it's this.
Like now it's not anything like that at all.
These guys they're all older, you know. They got
just concerts in general aren't the same like that.
Yeah. Everything's changed.
Everything's changed. But like this, so that story that I told you is fairly common, like known. But another thing I didn't know until recently is like when that happened, the Hammersmith Odeon thing. He had set his kit up, and then he sees someone standing, looking around, checking out his kit, and he goes and starts talking to him, and it's like Mitch Mitchell.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's like,
oh, shit.
Yeah. It's like, that's a way better story than all my stories put together. All my ones in life are nothing compared to that. So if that's where you're starting, think of that as a start off point.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Like, and then you're in the biggest pop. Like, it's not like being in a big rock band now. They were also the biggest pop band.
They were the biggest band in the world for
everything, like of all genres.
Yeah, for
not like
about 2 years, there was nobody bigger than them. You know,
but then they got even bigger than that.
Yeah,
like
I'm talking. But when Hysteria came out, they were the biggest band in the world. They were bigger than Michael Jackson at that point. I mean, this is right before Guns N' Roses hit. They were the biggest band in the world, dude.
That's right.
They were huge.
I know.
I mean, it was like. I love the band. I'm like, oh my God, Pour Some Sugar Mines on MTV again. You know, it was just, they were so huge, you know, and great. I'm a huge fan of that band. I mean, I can't understate enough.
They're really good players. Like when you're like a lot of times, like you can go when you're at side or backstage, they have all the different monitors for the sound guys and stuff, like off stage, and you can hear like Phil just singing in the background only. They'll have one for that, and then you can go up and listen. You should hear how good they perform just out of the mix.
Phil he's an incredible guitar player. Like,
he's an incredible singer.
And Vivian played with freaking Dio. I mean, you know, so
they're amazing.
They're amazing guitar players. But the thing that gets me is that early years box set is how young they were.
That's what I mean. Like, what's 15 years old? You know how old Rick is? He's 57.
Yeah, he's 57. He's only 57.
He's 57. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess he's been at.
Like, you look at him, he looks like just like my age. It's like, and then you think of the history of what that was. Like, you're part of the ether. Like, you're one of those few points in history where you're part of the social construct
Mm-hmm.
of society everywhere in the world, not just like everywhere. Now there's very handful of people who fall into that category.
Yeah.
It's so crazy, right?
They were, man, Pyromania came out. There wasn't a single guy in that band over the age of 25. I don't think.
No. Like,
I think they were all under 25 before that album even came out. And
I think
maybe Phil, because he might have been one of the older ones, because he'd been around a little longer, I think.
Joe Elliott's the oldest one, I think.
Is he the oldest?
Because with the very last show I saw was a Def Leppard concert. Then it was like when I was like with my buddy backstage and all that, we were hanging out with the band and all that stuff. There's like, so it's a good last concert to it.
Yeah.
And that night was his birthday. So, and that was in 2019.
Okay.
So he was 61, I think. So there you go. I think he's 63.
Okay. All right.
I believe, or coming up to that.
Okay.
So that's still pretty young.
They're young, man.
Because the thing is, like, they started in 78.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine actually was he used to work for Randall Amplification, and he was actually Phil's rep. He was Phil's Randall rep for his endorsement guy or whatever for he was really he's an English guy that moved over here and got hooked, when he was working for Randall, and he got to be really, really good friends with Phil. So he actually had Phil play on his album. Like he put an album and he had Phil playing, him and Phil, his son was named Philip. He's he's named really close with them, and
he's a real cool guy. That's how I met Rick, actually.
How did you meet Rick? Okay, so
my guitar player Johnny was rigger for all the concerts. Like the head rigger.
Oh, he's a lighting rigger. Okay, yeah.
Led everything. Like he would.
Yeah, those guys are insane, by the way.
Yeah, so he did that for about 10 years. So he would know everybody, like when they come there. And he was just talking to Phil because he's obviously two guitar players. And they were just talking. He told him about me. Then he told Rick, and he goes, "Oh, tell him to come down." Whatever. And they just gave me passes, and then I met him, and then I got his number, and then we just always were friends since then.
No shit.
I would just phone him. We'd yak for like a bunch of hours, and then every time they come near, I go, "Oh, we're coming to Vancouver, or we're going to Winnipeg," and stuff like that. So I would just either go to, like, he'd come here sometimes. I think only once they think.
So that's okay. So that's saying something about the guy then, right there.
Yeah, he's super. And then that can always bring, like, he's always, okay, how many tickets do you want? So I'm always like, I don't want to be. I always just go, oh, two.
You don't want to ask anybody for anything.
No. I always say a low number or whatever, and I'll just bring a couple buddies. Yeah, but he always has me bring. See, I usually bring like one of my closest friends, or my brother's been a couple times, and my best friend.
Yeah,
he let me and my brother. He made a little ramp on the back of the stage, so I could sit right behind his drum kit. Like I could just touch him there. But he couldn't in Winnipeg, and you couldn't see us because it's like a little. Like he could go in behind there and breaks and like eat a banana or something like that when you get. Kind of stuff. I just sit there. Yeah.
I haven't seen them since. Man,
they're really good. They're really good now. They're actually the most polished I've seen them right now.
Probably. I think I saw them in '94 was the last time I saw them. Do they still? They still do the round? They don't do that anymore, do they?
No, it's like kind of. It's just regular concert sort of setup, but like really big and standard arena fare. The big screens and everything. The sound is always amazing, eh? It sounds always so, no matter where you are in the place.
So, did Rick ever tell you about, like, okay, you say he was like a pioneer in electronics in the early days, yeah. Did he ever talk to you about, like, we all kind of know the story from the movie or the book or whatever, but, I mean, they can't like get into everything, like the technical aspect of it. I mean, like, did he ever talk to you about like nothing? Like, no, like this, like
we don't even talk about drums ever.
Really? No. I'd have to pick his brain about that. Like, dude,
like I honestly can't think of like a real, like we don't even really talk about that stuff too much. Okay. I don't know, just regular kind of.
Just broke my heart, man.
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
That's what those pedals were like, or like those early, because they had to be horrible, man. Like those early pedals, like or when he was first playing with the Simmons kick, and those pedals couldn't.
I'll tell you what, though, they were the last tour sharing practice space with Rush for Rush's last tour. And I don't know if it was him or his tech, or maybe it was one of the other band members were talking to Neil, and he said that Rick was his inspiration for experimenting with all the electronics.
Oh, really?
To even get it going. So that was like the biggest, because Rick is a huge Neil Peart fan.
Is he?
Oh, like absolutely. He's good on an acoustic kit. Like right now, his big thing is pushing his wife's band. His wife's a singer songwriter, and she has a new album out and stuff like that. And he plays drums on it. And I think it's bass player from Jackson Brown, and he plays drums on it. The guy, drummer from Tom Petty, bunch of guys. I think it's all set up in his house. I'm not sure, but it's like amazingly good, like really, really good. And then they just did like it's called Sweet Relief Musicians Fund, and they did like a fundraiser where it was them playing like his wife's band, live streaming, and then like Billy Idol, Matt Sorum, I can't remember, like maybe 5 or 6 other like pretty big name people, and then just raising money for all the crew that are out of work and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So they did that this summer, you know what I mean? And and he, I don't know if you knew, but he's an artist. Like
I know he paints. I follow him on Instagram.
You should see how good it is.
Yeah, I follow him on Instagram.
It's pretty good. Yeah,
I follow like it's cool. Like it's like a cool thing now is you could kind of communicate with these guys, and that's one good thing about like we were talking about earlier, the technology advancing. Like you
You're
can
right.
just like you can just comment on.
That's
like one of your heroes. Like
that's so cool. Eh?
It's so cool, man. Like it was back in Carmine. I'm not on Facebook anymore. I got way too much trouble on Facebook. Like, but I commented on Carmine Appice, who was one of my early big drum influences. I'm a big Carmine fan, and he made a comment about show me your grooves or something like that. And I grabbed one of my Steely Dan covers and posted it on there. And he posted like, great fucking groove, man. You got a great pocket. I'm like,
that's so, I
dude,
know, right?
It's Carmine Appice, man. He's played with Ozzy, and he played with, Blue Murder, and it's like,
Carmine Appice is the only drum book I ever owned.
The Realistic Rock, yeah.
It's the only one I ever owned and played. Yeah. Like as far as like drum music goes, that's the best one I learned.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so cool that like we can interact with these guys now. I helped Mike Miley from Rival Sons. I helped him set up his live stream on his YouTube channel. I was like his helper for that. He's like, I'll be like. He sent me a text message. Can you help me out? Hop on. It's like, but you talked like Rick.
Really cool.
I'm like, I don't ever want to ask anything of. I never want to ask anything.
No, I don't either. Well, you know what happened this summer? Rick posted my Tom Sawyer video on his website. Like it's still there, and on his Facebook and all that. Yeah. Well, and I just all of a sudden seemed like I don't get lots of views on my thing. Like, so I'm going, there's no way. Like, why would that happen?
Either, dude.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden there's 0, then there's 1,500. I'm like, that's not a thing for me. And then I didn't think anything of it. And then about 3 months, and I talked to him like once a week, twice a week, just texting and stuff like that, and just whatever, normal stuff. And then about 3 months later, my nephew goes, "Did you see this?" And he sends me a link. I'm like, "Oh my God." Like,
I commented on that, actually. I'm like, dude.
I didn't even know. I'm like, I felt like such a jerk. Here I am talking to him all. I don't even say, "Hey, thanks for putting that up." So then I phoned him and go, "I didn't even see that. Like, I don't know what the hell's wrong with me, man. Sorry." He's like, "Oh, whatever."
It's funny. It's like you get so used to doing these videos, and just like getting like just grinding for 100 views. You know what I mean?
Lucky.
And then, when you see one take off, it's like, how?
Well, I knew it couldn't have been me. I know that. It's like that's happening.
We were talking about this. Like I did the Wolfgang Van Halen video, right? And so I throw it up Friday, and I think as we sit right now, it's probably hit 3,000 views by now.
Yeah, I saying that I was on it today.
And here's the thing: is all I didn't put any work.
It's a good review though.
Yeah,
It's actually you actually break down the song properly.
Okay,
Most of the ones that you see are reaction ones are like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's like I'm coming at this at a different aspect. A lot of people, it's like I'm not like when I decided I was going to change the focus on my channel from just drums to just more of just music in general and things like that is like the drums thing. It was just getting to be a grind, and I was putting so much, and I was like, it wasn't fun anymore. You know what I mean?
That's why I don't do it much that often. It's like I just can't. I have other things I'm doing. I'm recording with my band right now. Like I just did brand new. We have new tracks coming out. We got a couple gigs, bigger ones coming up for sure in the summer and in the fall. We're gonna be back to playing soon.
Yeah,
in a few months, I would say. So that's where the real fun is.
Well, yeah, and like for me, like it's the production aspect of it. Like
it's hard, yeah.
But that's what I actually really enjoy the most. Is just
do you? Oh, okay.
Like I would seriously I would just mix other people's stuff if they sent me stuff.
Wow, really? Eh?
Like, yeah, I just like doing it. It's
that's
fun.
awesome.
But then once I'm done with that, once the song's mixed, I'll sit there and look at it for 2 weeks. Go, oh, I got to edit it because I hate that.
I have ones right now sitting there because I don't want to edit it. It's done. All the tracks are done.
That's the part I hate, and that's the part like I can't get to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like I get to a point where it was like I put all this work in, and I seriously
I can tell by your videos they're really good. That takes time and effort to make them ready.
Takes effort and time and effort.
No matter what,
to get them to that.
To line them up, to have it cut at the right time, so it's not missing stuff.
And probably 10, 11 hours on each
one.
Easily each one. Just editing. I usually spend like at least 5 hours mixing, and then probably another 5 hours editing, and then probably another hour. You know what the easiest part is? The part I put the least amount of work into is the actual playing of it. Because
I know like 300 songs because I play in the cover. Like I could just brush off and boom, you play it.
Well, yeah, and when I need to get a video up quick, I'm like, well, I'm just going to pick a song one of my bands does because I don't have to learn it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then you start like realize how much you really how much I bastardize some of these songs. Wow, I'm playing that song wrong. Ooh, that's what my X Tracks was the greatest thing ever. Well, just pull the drums out. Nobody will know.
See, that's the thing. I just always play over the top, so I have to make sure I get all the notes, or else those will stand out like a sore thumb. Yeah, that's another thing. It's like you're kind of playing under a microscope too, so you're gonna be accurate.
You gotta be accurate. Yeah.
You're gonna hear that other drum underneath it. You know what I mean? So
there's been times in the days before X Tracks where I would do a cover and I would play it and I'd start mixing. I'm like, God, man, it just doesn't sound right. You know what I mean? No matter what I did, I'm like, I just can't get this thing to sound right. It just sounds sloppy. I'm playing the drums right. Everything's lining up. And then one day I got the bright idea, and this is going back to that whole grid thing where everything is perfect. One day I got the bright idea. I just went, I wonder what would happen if I just moved the backing track a little bit, like the original track I'm playing. And I moved it like 5 milliseconds. It wasn't much. It was just 5, 6, 7 milliseconds. Something like the natural ear
can't
really pick up. And it was just like everything locked in. You know what I mean? But I was that much in front of it. And
that's how I line them up. I just do it until there's no echo.
Yeah.
There's echo, you go one way, and then all of a sudden, it's just locked right in.
Yeah. And it wasn't like it was like my playing was sloppy or like anything like that. But I was consistently 5 to 7 milliseconds in front of what I was playing along with. You know what I mean? And once I moved that track 5 to 7 milliseconds over, it was like everything went and everything just sounded tight. Because when I mix my stuff, I really mix my stuff tight.
No, I know. I can tell. It sounds
and amazing. There's no like big, huge verb like compression trying to hide any of that shit. I mean, it's all there, but you can take compression, you can really hide a lot of flaws. And that kind of stuff. And when I moved that track, I'm like, son of a bitch, that's all it takes. And then pretty soon I was like doing that in a lot of stuff where I'd be like, well, this doesn't sound right. Good. Moving over 5 seconds, milliseconds, and it's in, and it's just that's something you can't account for,
You know what I've done before in the past, like actually lately, because I have YouTube music. So I'll just stream, listen to them and then record it, and then use a track that I got, an MP3, and then they don't line up. They're like, they go out of sync.
Oh, they go out of sync. Yeah.
Because the transfer, I guess, over the line is just that tiny amount. So 10 seconds in, so I'm like, oh, I forgot to play to the MP3 instead of the.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
Instead of the stream.
I've had that happen on just sometimes where I'll take like I didn't like now, like when X tracks became a thing, I quit looking for drumless tracks online. You know,
I've never played to one before. I always just play over top.
You always, yeah. I've always, yeah. It's so much easier mixing.
Time.
It's so much easier in mixing and everything. And me being lazy, I don't like learning the song. You know? So it's just easier to take the drums out and play whatever, right? So, but when X tracks became a thing, I quit looking for drumless tracks.
Right?
Yeah, and so there was one I did. I pulled the drums out. I'm like, God, it just doesn't sound right. You know, like it's just, I couldn't, sometimes with X tracks, you can't get a good drumless track. It sounds funny. Sure. So I went back and I was talking to actually Trey about it. And he's like, dude, there's one online. It's really good. There's a drumless on. I'm like, I grabbed it and it was the same thing. It was like, it was a Pantera song. It was a Pantera song. It would start and go out and go out. So what I did was I spent a long time. I would sit there and it would start to go out and I'd cut and I'd splice and I'd move it down into another track. And just, it took me
forever
to do it, but it was worth it to salvage the track because this was going to be the one that got a lot of views.
Right.
I think it's probably at about 125 right now. So I put all that work I put in, it was worth it.
No, dude. Well, you know, what's funny. You're talking about Greta Van Fleet. I actually just did a cover a little while ago with their new one. It's like not a hard song, but I think it's got a cool groove to it or whatever. And it's brand new. Thinking that, it's Greta Van Fleet. It's like, it's got my least views out of pretty much any cover I've ever put up.
Yeah.
Like other than like original stuff, it's harder to.
You never know, dude. That's the thing is like I did a Metallica song. Like every May I kind of don't really do it anymore. I think I only did one last May, but every May every week I would put out of the month, I would put out a new Metallica song. So like 2 years ago I did Am I Evil? And I just flubbed the middle section, the middle solo, the middle drum solo, like totally flubbed it. And I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to release it. Nobody's going to watch it anyway. It's my biggest drum cover video, man. You never know, man. It was for whatever reason. When you search Metallica, Am I Evil drum cover, that's the one that comes up first. Yeah.
Maybe because not a lot of people do it, possibly too.
Maybe. Yeah. You never know, man. You never know what's going to hit. I gave up trying to figure out YouTube.
I know it's annoying. It's like I said, the reason I did it originally is because I was playing a cover band. Like you said, I knew all these tunes.
Yeah.
So the playing part I thought would be, I'll just do it really fast. But I didn't realize how, if you're going to do a proper job, how long the editing part takes. That's the part I wasn't counting on. Wow. I was like, whoa, like that's like I can't just do that every day. Like I thought it'd be like not too much harder than just lining it up and throwing it up. But then it's like, you know, when you're going through stuff at 5 seconds at a time and you got like 9 tracks that you're doing, add that up in time.
Dude, it's a lot of work. I've spent hours just trying to get a snare drum sound. You know,
I don't do much of that. To be honest, I don't spend a lot in that. You know what I do? I just take 2 overheads, put them 2 feet out. It's the bottom technique they kind of did, and just have them about.
Yeah.
It's kind of sticking up, and I just a room sound. That's it.
Some of those you can get like really good sounds doing that. Like
it's not always by itself. It sounds wicked.
Yeah, they sound killer. They sound killer. But I'm just such a nerd that I start like. You know, I've bought like plugins and I'm like, I can get these kick drums that just sound like, oh my God.
You're a gearhead.
I'm a gearhead. Yeah. Wow. I love the recording process.
I like playing the recording, but I don't like any of the tedious drives me crazy. I just don't enjoy it at all.
Yeah. I love sitting in front of the computer and just
I wish I did.
Trying to get the sounds. And I get it, Matt. There's not a lot of guys like that. There's a few of us who are
my guitar player's like that. He produces all our records.
It's actually usually guitar players that are like that. It's very rarely drummers. But
I like the good sounds, but I once I get one, I'm good.
Yeah,
I don't need to. You know,
I work in. I'm an audiovisual tech, but before COVID, I was an AV tech. You know, so I'm just around mixing consoles. That's what I do for my day job, and it just kind of naturally transferred to the recording thing. You know, so I think you kind of have to have a basic fundamental. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Like if you have a grasp on it, it's easier to get all the.
Oh yeah.
You know what you mean. You know, like so it was like that was easy for me. So it was like all the other stuff. It was like going back to like playing baseball. Playing baseball was hard. Playing baseball for me is editing. You know. So
yeah.
It's
editing. Like imagine being an editor for like those big movies. And you see like 1 30-second spot, and you probably spend a week on some of that stuff.
God, yeah, it's so much.
I mean, and when you start doing, and imagine before when they didn't have digital. Oh my God,
they were cutting everything, literally cutting everything together. Oh. And if you fuck up, it's you got. Oh my God, man.
Yeah, it sounds crazy. Yeah,
that'd be awful.
The manual labor involved.
But wow, we've been going 2 hours now.
Holy crap. Well, you know what? Next time we should get Trey.
We should get Trey. I would like actually because I told you before. Here, I'm gonna stop the recording. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night. Now we're gonna start telling dirty jokes. So